Boom, 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 boom. Hi, and welcome to Fly Sports News at 5 o'clock. I'm your host for the day, Connor Campbell, joined in the studio by Joe Brooksben. He's going to be teaching us about boxing and the history of the sport. Later on in the show, we are joined by James Figg, the current world champion, as we jump back to the year 1719 to watch him take on Ezekiel Armstrong in a bare-knuckle boxing match.
Well, boxing is a sport of fighting with fists, also called pugilism, literally a fist fight, and prize fighting. In other words, the fights for prizes or money. Boxing has been included in the Olympic Games programme since 1904. For centuries, people used their fists to resolve disputes before someone thought the organising such fights was entertaining. However, ancient boxing barely resembles the sport we have now today. All fights were carried out on open plots, where the spectators formed a living arena. The fight normally lasted until one of the opponents was seriously injured, although the first boxers fought for glory. The winner was also granted the gold, livestock or other trophies on offer. To protect wrists and hands, the fighters braided their wrists and fists, sometimes 2/3 of their forearms, with a thin, soft leather strap. By the 4th century, the straps were made of hard leather and were not used just as an arm protection gadget, but turned the fist into a kind of an assault weapon. Later, in the Roman Empire, the leather straps were armoured with special copper and iron brackets used in gladiators' fights, which usually ended with the death of one of the fighters. Changing rules and a bit more history on offer here. With the spread of Christianity and the collapse of the Roman Empire, fist fights ceased to exist as an entertainment and were forgotten for several centuries. The first official bout was registered in England in 1681, and since 1698, regularly scheduled boxing matches were conducted in the Royal Theatre in London. Gradually, London became the centre for provincial boxing champions seeking fame, glory and money. That very reason was the incentive for the boxing development in London in particular. In those bouts, each boxer's remuneration, as well as the potential stakes gambled by spectators, were settled. The fighters did not use gloves and did not follow common rules. Weight classifications were not determined, which resulted in only one champion announcement. The lightweight boxers were often beaten. Though rounds were determined, the fight usually lasted until one of the opponents was unable to continue. It was not prohibited to attack an opponent even after he fell to the ground. These conditions existed until the mid-16th century. Despite the fact that boxing was outlawed, it was gaining more and more popularity. In 1719, James Figg, the favourite of the public and the winner of many boxing matches, was proclaimed the champion of England and held the title for 15 years.
Welcome back to Fly Sports News at 5 o'clock. I join you again in the studio with our second guest of the evening, Daniel Popplewell. This is the guy here who's going to be teaching us all about modern day boxing and the technology that the sport now involves. Over to you, Daniel.
The future of boxing will always be with us, but as you can see, the sport has evolved to become a more exciting game over time. The square boxing ring of the past decades, for example, the best being set aside for a favour of new arenas. The BKB pit, for example, is a circle with nowhere to run or hide. You don't get in unless you can stand a fight, giving boxing fans a more exciting game to watch. The way boxing has changed from back in the day is a point system called 10-point system. For each round, the winner will receive 10 points and the loser will receive 9 points. 8 points if you get knocked down once or dominated, 7 if you get knocked down twice. Both boxers will get 10 points if the match is even. The boxer with the most points will win the match as long as 2 of the 3 judges are in an agreement. If 2 of the 3 judges have the game as tied, then the match will be tied. Back in the day and its rules, at its early stages of boxing it had very little rules and regulations of the game. The objective of the game was to outlast their opponent in the ancient Greek time. Outlasting back in the day meant a number of different things, such as surviving while your opponent was laid dying on the ground. Over the course of the time, many blood-ridden fights have gone and changed into boxing, with new rules to make the game a lot safer for opponents. Although in today's boxing rules and regulations differ slightly among the different organisations, the sport has a number of common features that are easily implemented. The standard rules now in boxing are boxers must always stand on their feet in order to exchange punches. Punches thrown by boxers must always be above the waistline. Punches are the only legal thing to hit an opponent with. When a ref breaks up clinching boxers, both boxers must take a full step back before throwing a punch. These are some rules that are put in place to make boxing a lot safer.
Boxing and its organisations. WBC, the World Boxing Council. The World Boxing Council is one of 4 major organisations which sanction World Championship boxing bouts, alongside the IBF, WBA and WBO. Owing to the many historically high-profile bouts sanctioned by the organisation and legendary fighters who have been recognised as WBC World Champions, the organisation still remains as one of the major 4 sanctioning bodies. All 4 organisations, however, recognise the legitimacy of each other and each have interwoven histories dating back several decades. IBF. This is the International Boxing Federation. The IBF is preceded by the United States Boxing Association, a regional championships organisation like the North American Boxing Federation, North American Boxing Council and the North American Boxing Association. In 1983, at the WBA's annual convention held in Puerto Rico that year, Bob Lee, the president of the USBA, lost in his bid to become the WBA president against Gilberto Mendoza. Lee and others withdrew from the convention after the election and decided to organise a new world-level organisation. At first, the new group was named the USBA International. They decided to base the new organisation in New Jersey, where its main offices are still located. The WBO, the World Boxing Organisation. The World Boxing Organisation is a sanctioning organisation currently recognising professional boxing world champions. The organisation is recognised as one of the 4 major world championship groups by the IBHOF, alongside the International Boxing Federation, the World Boxing Council and the World Boxing Association. WBO offices are located in San Juan, Puerto Rico. WBA. The World Boxing Association is an international boxing organisation that sanctions official matches and awards the WBA World Championship title at the professional level. Founded in the United States in 1921 by 13 state representatives as the National Boxing Association, in 1962 it changed its name in recognition of boxing's growing popularity worldwide and began to gain other nations as members. In 1975, a majority of votes were held by Latin American nations, and the organisation headquarters were moved to Panama. After being located during the 1990s and early 2000s in Venezuela, the organisation offices returned to Panama in 2007. It is the oldest of the 4 major organisations recognised by the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which sanction World Championship boxing bouts alongside the IBF, the WBC and the WBO.
Boxing technology. Boxing is an ancient sport. Although it has not always been around in its current form, fighting using fists for sport, entertainment and betting has been around for thousands of years. Since then, times have changed. Boxing equipment improved and techniques altered. Take the boxing ring as a perfect example. Although a square now with predefined measurements, anything between 16 and 25 feet aside, its name is a throwback to the roughly drawn rings of history. In Greek and then Roman times, boxing, whilst lacking the boxing equipment of the modern era, was a much loved sport. Using chalk rings, boxers were going bare-knuckled and tried to knock out the opponent, usually for a cash prize. Many wagers were made on the betting on such sports was a way of life, especially in the military. Times have moved. New boxing equipment have been developed, and in 1838 the first square ring was introduced by Pugilistic Society, with ropes secured around the edge. This has continued now, and you will usually find such square rings atop raised platforms with 4 parallel ropes running around the outside, usually secured at the midway point. Whereas the Greeks and Romans would fight bare-knuckling in a tradition that would last centuries, such fight is now considered dangerous, with too many bouts ending in serious injury or death. Thankfully, modern technology has allowed us the use of pads and gloves as well as other boxing equipment that, while still ensuring the punch is delivered with force, help minimise the risk of a severe injury to the level in line with most other impact sports. Boxing gloves are now designed to spread the force of the blow over a wide area, ensuring a smaller chance of sustaining head and brain injuries. Boxing equipment such as pads and shields help stop and dissipate the force of the blows in practice sparring, meaning less skilled boxers are able to use such boxing equipment, including punching bags, to help a skilled boxer train for a fight. It's not just safety that is moved on either. Throughout history, strength was the most prized asset of a fighter. The ability to take and give punches considered all important. Slowly, over the last century or two, that has changed, and now speed of feet and speed of hand are just as important, if not more so. To that end, new boxing equipment has been developed from plyometric speed equipment to the speedball and platform. The speedball is a very clever and basic development. It is a ball suspended by a spring-loaded platform that is designed to swing back into place swiftly. The idea behind this piece of boxing equipment is that it trains the boxer's speed of hand and hand-eye coordination, attributes that are vital to the modern-day boxer. But whilst boxing equipment, techniques and training methods may have moved on from ancient times, the idea behind the sport is still the same, to knock out the opponent. The basics have changed little over a couple of thousand years, and it would be surprising if this sport wasn't around in some form or another in a couple of thousand years more.